Hey, this is Glenn. Welcome to another episode of Difficult Questions. This one, are you responsible for society? I was listening to a lady that was saying that the me generation and that attitude about me first has been the great destructor of society. And I remember as a kid, I think it was in Sesame Street. It was free to be you and me. And I remember learning that. But at the same time, I grew up United Methodist. So it was a Protestant religion, and it was the church was about what you can do, what is your method to your faith, what you can do for society. So I had this ideal that growing up that I was part of and responsible for the society around me. And that was kind of enforced through my growing up. And it wasn't about me. It was about me in relation to a functioning greater society around me. But I was walking a few days ago, as I always do, because I've been a forced pedestrian for 3.5 years. And I walked by this lady's house, and her dog, it's like a beagle or a hound of some sort, was in the front yard, and it just lost its mind. It just started barking and howling at me and chasing after me as dogs do from behind a fence. I'm just walking. I'm not threatening to the dog, but the dog is now disturbing me, and I say, "Hey," to the dog. The owner doesn't say sorry to me. She just starts yelling at the dog. And I walk a lot. I notice there are dog walkers and parents with their strollers, and they take up the whole sidewalk space, or they're friends and they're side by side. And there's no deference to me on the sidewalk alone. They'll just continue to take up the whole sidewalk. And this really got me thinking about what people's responsibility is in society, what their responsibility is to society. I've been working to solve homelessness since 2010, and I've really narrowed it down to two things. We're trying to replace family and community with capitalism, and that's very expensive. And then we've also invested ourselves out of shelter. And those two things work together to perpetuate homelessness. But in the United States, we have this idea that we're free to be you and me, and we want this rugged individualism. And in capitalism, we've conceded that people are selfish. And then we've built our system up to be able to compensate for how selfish people are. So even our judicial system, it's about who can make the best argument. And then you pit one lawyer against another, and you have a judge as a moderator with a jury, and then they argue it out. There is no idea that we work together. It's animosity. It's who wins. And that is antithetical, that's the right word, to my upbringing, where you had this responsibility of the society around you. I was talking to a friend, and he was saying, well, his responsibility is to give to charities. With bureaucracy comes opportunity for corruption. So as I'm trying to solve homelessness across the US, I talk about direct action. Where can you directly put your money that you know will go to something that isn't lining someone's pockets? And how can you give up enough time to pay attention to that? Because we want to scale our passive ability. We want to give to a nonprofit who then will do it for us. But the more people that you have in a system, the more people you have to pay to run that system. So it inherently becomes inefficient. And then also, since people are inherently selfish, there's an opportunity for corruption if you just blindly give people money. Same way with taxes. We always complain about how our taxes are being spent, and we should. But how do we track that money? So I look back to these smaller religious communities, let's say the Quakers or the Amish, where they have this duty to society or this responsibility for the society that they're in that leads their decision making for the way they want their life to happen. But that is at odds with free to be you and me. The Amish wear garments that are similar. No one stands out. They do the same things. They worry about their family and community. They spend all their time keeping their family and community up, building barns, building housing, helping neighbors that can't help themselves because they're sick or developmentally disabled or whatever it may be. Where in capitalism, it's just about you succeeding. Success in capitalism for me is lifeguard rules. Take care of yourself so you can take care of others. But because I'm a person that has upbringing of finding solutions, not giving problems, people have expected me to solve things, and then I'll get caught up in my responsibility for their society, and they don't feel responsible. So the only solution I've found so that I don't resent people is for me to leave, because as long as I try to help, they will let me help, and they will not necessarily help themselves. They will just continue to depend on me. So we're not all Amish. We're a heterogeneous society. We have many different people from many different backgrounds with many different priorities. So in your community, I'm just wondering how responsible do you feel for your society, and how directly responsible do you feel for your society? There was a movie 15 years ago or so called Super, and it was about, I think Rainn Wilson was in it, and it was about this superhero that was trying to force people to have social responsibility. But his solution was violence in order to force people to comply to that social responsibility. I once asked my father, who was in Vietnam, I'd seen this report on racism in Vietnam, and I asked him, had he encountered people being racist amongst the US troops? And he said, if you're racist, you don't exist very long. Because in that world, you will literally get shot if you don't comply. And we don't have that direct correction, or we don't support direct correction. We support the rule of law. So only the police can come directly detain you, and then we don't directly correct your behavior. We put you in prison, or we fine you. That's the way that we deal with people who we think aren't responsible for the society around them, which also has many steps in it, and so is rife with corruption. So what do we do? As we're looking at society may be falling apart. A friend of mine is really concerned about the trajectory of the nation and how everything is being dismantled and how people are losing their jobs and how people can't make enough money to survive in this free to be you and me society. And I reply to him, well, I get hit by distracted drivers. So I, in my bones, know the chaos of life. And I'm kind of happy that everyone else gets to experience that chaos of life because I'm still walking. I still don't have enough money to buy a vehicle. I still am limping around because a lady hit me with her car and just said, oopsie. And then her insurance fought me for over a year and a half to try and pay out because that's our society. I mean, what is our responsibility? What are we responsible for in and around us? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Thanks.